Okay, let's just be real. We all want our desires right now, ASAP. Or we want some movement to happen, right? But here's the thing. Thank God your desires manifesting do not depend on you seeing or not seeing movement. Because apparently, statistically, we can only perceive like 0.0035% of reality at all times. That is a wild statistic. And so the rest is just background activity of the universe trying to match you, trying to fit your mind. And you think just because you don't see that happening, that nothing is happening? Because look at it this way. Look at the phone or the device that you're watching this video on, whatever it is. And now, what is behind that device? What is in front of you? What is around you? That's your field of vision. And so just because you see only what's in front of you doesn't mean that there's not a whole world happening around you that you can't even see, that maybe you're not even aware of in this very moment. So you don't know how often your person thinks about you. You don't know that they're maybe searching up your username on any social media app in this very moment. You don't know that there's somebody in a company talking about opening up a job position that you are manifesting right now. But that job position won't be open to public maybe in a month from now or 2 months from now. But it's already in the process of unfolding for you to see it. But you don't see that. You don't know what is going on. You don't know what they're talking about. You don't know what your SP, what your person is thinking about right now. Except that you do because you're transmitting the thoughts to them. But okay. Movement is everything. Everything is movement. The good things that you see, which we consider movement, is movement. That nothing happening, the radio silence, that is movement. Because if movement is not happening in front of you, it is happening behind you, in the background, for you not to see, which is okay. Even the unfavorable or seemingly unfavorable things happening are movement. Because a lot of the times, something seems to happen, right? And then we're like, why is this happening? This doesn't work. This is stupid, blah, 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 blah. And we're solidifying that label of it being stupid, of it not working. We're dwelling in it. We're persisting in it. And so obviously, every other outcome that follows is going to align with that because it's so easy to persist in, oh, it's not working. I'm just going to give up or whatever. It's easy. But you being aware of it and not reacting to it in a way that you normally would, but responding to it can change the whole trajectory of the unfolding of that situation that you initially labeled as unfavorable. And now, mind you, again, people who are experiencing, and I have experienced this with people more times than I would like to, but people tell me, they haven't experienced any movement, they haven't seen any movement, and then they get triggered or they want to give up or whatever. But there are also people who get movement, who see movement, and they get so caught up in that movement that they completely lose sight of their end goal, of their actual goal. Because now they're all about, oh, I got this movement. Why hasn't my person conformed yet fully? Why am I not seeing any other movement? Why is my manifestation not here now? I see movement, I've seen signs, I've seen BBLs. They're so hyper fixated on the movement that they just, let go basically of the effort, and the process, process, that is manifesting, the actual desire. You seeing movement is not your sign to stop. You not seeing movement is not a sign for you to stop. You seeing circumstances or getting circumstances, it's not a sign for you to stop. Movement or no movement, triggers or no triggers, you persist. And you persist as long as you have to, until you no longer have to. Because the thing is, and I have fallen victim to this many times before, when we are trying to control the situation, when we're trying to force something and micromanage it to happen, it's like we're putting on a leash on ourselves, and it's like we're putting up a ceiling above us and putting the universe, the law, God, whoever you want to refer to, in a cage. Because then we're not allowing them, I'm just going to say the universe, we're not going to allow the universe to do what it does best, which is move mountains for us, which is bend universes for us to match our mind. Because we cannot comprehend. We are, unfortunately, a lot of the times very, very limited as to how things can happen. And now, things can happen in a very, very simple way, in a very normal, non-dramatic, leisure way, which is a lot of the times how it does happen. But at the same time, we think to ourselves that it has to be so dramatic, that it has to be like so crazy, whatever, that we don't even think about the small things that can happen and the small, irrelevant, casual, leisure ways that it can happen. And we automatically, go to think, oh, it has to happen this way, or this has to happen, or this has to happen for me to get this. And we overwhelm ourselves. And because then we start thinking to ourselves, oh, but how is that going to happen? But that's impossible. Whatever, you get my point. We are limited in that area. So it is not our job, it is not our duty to think about how some things can happen, or that we have to control how things happen. And I get it. We as a society are very used to thinking that we have to control things for things to go right, for things to go the way that we want them to go. But when you're operating in the quantum realm with manifesting, that is just not the case. And okay, let's take flying, for example. Flying is statistically the safest and fastest way to travel, right? But it's also the scariest, because you're just up there, you can't do nothing. You're, out of control, basically, so to speak. And all you can do is just sit back and trust that you're going to land, maybe also affirm constantly all the time, because God knows that's what I do when I fly. I hate flying. Oh my God, I hate flying. But yeah, anyway. And so compare that to manifesting. You boarding that plane is like you loosening your grip on the control of manifesting, right? So you're just sitting back and you're trusting that you're going to get there the fastest way. And is it going to feel scary and, anxiety inducing sometimes? Yeah, could be. But again, you choose to regulate and to trust and to affirm your truth. And now, while you're on that plane, you might get inspired to actually take some action, inspired action, right? But maybe you won't, which is also fine, because it's not your job to build the bridge. Your job is just to walk it, to cross it. That's it. Like, we don't force anything. We don't force and manifest by forcing anything, controlling anything, or manipulating anything or anybody. We manifest by simply selecting the outcome that we want to experience over and over again, especially on the days when our ego wants to throw a fit, wants to throw a tantrum. We persist, we keep selecting, just like we have been selecting subconsciously, unwillingly, unfavorable circumstances that kept on, perpetuating because of that. And again, we have all been there. Now we can select. We know that we can select the favorable things. So even with, the control to check the 3D. Let's take an example with SPs. When you get the control, the compulsion to check, to stalk, to overthink, that is you anticipating to see something that's going to hurt your feelings, and then spiraling because you did find something that hurt your feelings, and then you're like, yeah, this doesn't work. This is that, and then you feel like you have to start all over again because you feel like how you felt when you first started this whole process. Let your person conform. Let them conform. Allow them the time and the space to conform, to do so. Because your SP is the word I'm looking for. Your person is being nudged. Let's just say nudged. Your person is being nudged by the intention, by the thoughts, by the emotions that you are transmitting to them, that you want them to accept and process and act on. So allow them to do so. Stop interrupting the process. It's not just a 3D that's conforming. It's not just a 3D that's catching up. And now, mind you, when I say 3D, I'm talking about everything that includes the 3D. People, things, circumstances, time, everything. It's not just a 3D that's catching up. It's you too. It's us. We are the ones that also need to catch up and conform to our own assumptions, because you think to yourselves, why hasn't my SP shown up as the version that I want them to be? Why is they, are they giving me hot and cold behavior? Why is this? Why is that? Why are you? Why haven't you conformed? Why haven't you shown up as the version that you actually want to be, the version that aligns with the version that you want to be when you're in a healthy, loving relationship with your person, or when you're in a healthy, loving relationship with money, with a job, with your colleagues, with whoever and whatever? You have to conform as well. I have to conform as well. And again, EFT tapping, life-changing, life-changing. This is not that video. The next video is going to probably be about EFT tapping again. But anyway, we have to catch up to our own assumptions and beliefs that we want the world to conform to. But it's like, listen, can you affirm, just affirm, without changing anything about yourself, about your patterns, about your identity, about your beliefs and whatever, can you manifest? I'm going to say yes. Yes, you can. But are you going to be able to maintain what you manifested? There, I'm going to say yes and no, because there are people who could do that, but there are so many people who are not going to be able to do that, because they're going to get their person, they're going to get their desire, and they're going to go back to old patterns, end up having to manifest it all over again, because the version of them just doesn't align with the version of their person that they manifested, because their person is now this, that, and that, but they are still the old version. You know what I mean? Anytime you feel that urge creeping up to control, to check, to whatever, pause, breathe, regulate your nervous system, EFT tap, and interrupt the pattern, break the pattern that just does not serve you anymore. You know it doesn't serve you anymore, but it's sometimes it's like it's stronger than us, and we like just give into it. But don't give into it. I know it can be hard, but don't give into it. That is how you take actual control. That is your actual power. When you drop it, when you drop the old story, the old patterns, and mind you, again, dropping, like we talked about in one of my previous videos, it's not just like dropping a ball once and that's it. We drop it every single day. No matter how many times a day we have to do it, we do it. Every time the old, unfavorable wants to creep up, wants to poke us and call us, we drop it. Turn to your actual new truth. Catch the compulsion. Every single time you want to check, stop, overthink, or whatever, I want you to stop. And I want you to pivot to the you that would never do that. Because you are too good for that. You are too luxurious for that. And you know how we affirm things like, oh, everybody treats me with love, kindness, and respect. I'm loved, I'm respected, I am. If you affirm something like that, I want you to add, including myself. Everybody treats me with love, kindness, and respect, including myself, because that is going to hold you accountable as well. To treat yourself with love, kindness, and respect. To stay, firm in your boundaries, in your goals. Redirect your energy. Every time the urge creeps up, redirect. Regulate your nervous system. Affirm your actual new truth. Drop the old. And remind yourself that you don't see the background. You don't see the background. We only see 0.0035%. We are so limited in our field of vision. And just because you choose to not do something that you would normally do doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. By knowing what you should do in the sense of manifesting, which is to not interfere, you are doing everything right. You're doing everything right, and you're not interrupting, you're not interfering, you're trusting, you're believing in yourself, you're trusting yourself and the universe, God, the law, your person, that it's all unfolding and happening for you. So let's stop interrupting the process, okay? You got this.